Well, hello. How's it going, people? What's going on in the world today? How's everybody out there? How are all the geeks doing? How are all my people who love geek shit? Whether it is movies, TV shows, toys, games, I don't give a shit. How you guys doing? You guys doing all right today? Everybody doing well? Everybody having a good Saturday? I've had a pretty good Saturday. Hasn't been too bad. I got to take my it was a daddy-daughter day. Got to take my girls out, and we went and just like went around, and I got my girls some toys that they'd been wanting for a while. Went out, got them some stuff, found some stuff on clearance at GameStop, and picked up a couple of Funko Pops for my 13-year-old, and then my youngest is into these like squishy animal things. I don't even know what they're called, but they have them everywhere. They're like GameStop, and they're all on clearance everywhere. And so I don't know. Anyway, we got to pick up some toys for the girls, and then I took them to Whataburger to get some food. Arguably, I probably spent money I don't have, but you know what? It was a good day. We had fun. So it wasn't too bad. So how you guys doing out there? Hope you guys are doing okay. Yes, I know, Corey. The video settings on my stuff are just weird. I was in there tweaking with them and trying to mess with them because they were messed up yesterday. And I think I did something with the coloring or something that I didn't mean to do that looked fine when I was messing with it on my settings. And now I get in here and anything that's like red is like really red. So, yeah. But, oh, well, we'll just deal with it. How's it going? So, yeah, we're here. We're having fun. Oh, wait. Someone decided to show up. Hold on a second here. Just like a Marine to be fucking late.
I'm sorry. My bad,
Jesus.
dude. I'm sorry.
What the heck? Anyway.
So what's up, man? What's going on? What are we talking? Talk to me. Where are we at? You tell me.
I just got here. I've only been on for like a couple minutes.
Oh, sweet. Okay, good. I don't feel bad at all. Shut up. Trying to make me feel bad. 3 minutes late. I thought I was like an hour and a half late. Get out of here.
No. I just started. I started at 7 because I was like, fuck it, I'll do it later tonight.
Yeah.
7 my time, so it's 8 your time. And so I was like, well, I had stuff to do today. We were busy around the house and like reorganizing some stuff, and went out and took, like I was telling the audience, I took my girls out today, and we did some stuff and bought them some toys. And now my youngest, my 8-year-old, is because she was getting jealous because her sister has this shelf in her room that she's got all her toys and collectibles and things because she likes the anime stuff and all her Funko Pops and everything. And so my youngest wanted to get like a shelf set up. So we had to go and get a shelf set up for her so she could get her little toys and her like trophy from school and all her little things that she likes. She wanted her own little shelf. So
I don't know where she would get that idea from.
I don't know.
No idea.
No clue why she would be encouraged to just like have shelves of toys and things. I don't know. Seems strange to me. It's a bit odd, but yeah, for some reason she wanted to do that. So, so we did all that today, and we just finished up here like 30 minutes ago. Got her shelf all set up. Of course, got like, okay, well, we got to clean your room first because I'm not setting you up with all your stuff all nice and fancy if your room's trashed. So that was a whole thing. But anyway. But yeah, no, we just started up, so we're good. And I was going to start off with a little discussion about Game of Thrones this week, and see what everybody thought.
Okay, before we get started, I just want to make sure I saw the previous one. It's before the time jump, right?
Yes, we haven't hit the time jump yet. That's supposed to be tomorrow, so we're not there just yet.
Just trying to make sure I'm not behind.
Yeah, I did see the previews to it, and I was a little thrown off because I don't know about y'all, but at the end of last episode, I was like, oh, okay, well, the king finally died.
Yeah, he fell over.
Nope, because he's in the trailer for next week. I was like,
well,
dude looks like he has cancer or some shit. His hair's
Yeah,
all
he's
falling out.
He's like got leprosy, is what it is, right?
I don't know, man.
It's something I heard. I mean, it's like some kind of leprosy. He doesn't heal. The Iron Throne is rejecting him, but he seems like he's hanging on for a long time. We're going to do a 10-year time jump.
Yep.
I know, cool, because he's got one wound when the show starts, which is now, I mean, just from where we left last week was years, and he started off the show with that wound on his back.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and then it moved to his hand.
Yeah, then he's losing fingers and shit.
I
saw this meme online. Is like, and it just at the top it says, "This is a picture of Viserys next episode," and it was a fucking picture of what's his face from Lord of the Rings.
Gollum.
Yeah, Gollum.
Yo.
I was like, yeah, pretty much. That's the path he's traveling on right now. He just looks more and more fucked up each episode.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like the character. He's a weak king, but he's a nice guy. And that's why he's a weak king. Because, he doesn't make decisions based on what's the smart or strategic thing to do. He makes them based on emotions and lots of other things. And that's just not how things need to happen. If you're the king of Westeros, it just doesn't work well, as we have seen as he's made decisions this way. He's just quite honestly not ruthless enough to be a king of a medieval land. And and that's just how it is. But yeah, last episode, the only thing I'm confused on, and I've been reading stories about this all week, and it's just all speculation because nobody knows for sure. What the fuck happened that Sir Criston just had to pummel a hole through some dude's head?
Well, okay, I had the same thing because I kind of felt lost in that scene as well. Like, hey, I missed something, or
I think he got offended when that redhead came up to him and basically said that, we're both going to be little side bitches or something.
That's what it was. He was mad that someone else knew his secret. I think that was.
Well, and I think it's not. It was more than that, though. I think it was also because somebody else knowing because that's his shame, right? Like that's why he wears the white cloak. Yep. He's supposed to be celibate and all this shit, and everything, and protect the royal family and do all this stuff. And he broke his vows, and now somebody else knows it. And then on top of that, that just reminded him that he's never going to get to marry her. He's just going to be a side piece forever. And
I think he viewed it as not a misstep, but this was just the start of their love. And so it would have been fine had they gotten married.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he felt like he was like there was still a chance to do this the right way, but that was lost when she said no, and then it was really lost when she married the other guy.
Yeah.
Because now it's never going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And he loves her and wants to be with her, but he doesn't want to be a side piece at all.
No.
And that's not honorable to him, and he's more into honor. And so that's why he's going to kill himself. And then obviously we saw that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But the Littlefinger guy, that guy is he's trouble. The guy that was whispering. And then
is he the new hand? I didn't see him wearing a pin.
No, he's not the new hand. He's a master of whisperers.
Okay, is that what he was? Because the way he was like right there next to Viserys, however the fuck you say his name, I thought, is that the new hand? But he wasn't wearing the hand symbol pin. So I was like, well,
the hand.
And I didn't see anybody else.
The dude with the hand is the guy that
has a twin.
Has the twin sons, and then went on the ship with him. That's the hand.
The guy that has isn't he the one
that
Lannister?
always said that he would never lie to him and he'd always be honest with him whether it pissed him off or
not. Not a Lannister. No, he's
okay.
He's I don't know what he is. I'm trying to remember everybody's house. This isn't as dominant. It wasn't as clear as I guess we just had it for years, but it seemed like the original show it was more clear who was who.
Exactly, yeah.
But this is
the one that always sat basically to the left of the king at the table.
Yeah,
kind of the chunky dude.
Yeah. You know what? I just found out reading articles because I didn't even pick this up in the show, and maybe I just missed something. But the guy who got his face beaten through, who was the side piece of the other dude, was a fucking Mormont. So he was Jorah's like great uncle or something, a great uncle or some shit like that.
That effect was cool because that was a practical effect, and that was amazing. The head bashing thing.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Oh, you know what it reminded me of? What it reminded me of is not only to remind me of the scene, but it's what I wish would have happened in the scene, which is in Battle of the Bastards when fucking John gets a hold of Dipshit and just starts beating the shit out of him.
Yeah.
But then he stops because he looks up and he sees his sister. Well, what he thinks is his sister.
Yeah.
And so he stops. But that, like, in that, I remember watching Battle of the Bastards for the first time.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there just like, oh, beat his ass. Like, I just wanted him to just beat him to death, just like what happened in last episode.
Yeah, fucking Ramsay and Bolton.
I was surprised, and I think that this was orchestrated, but I was surprised that the Kingsguard, knowing that the Queen was in the middle of that fight, and the King was somewhere, or the Queen, soon to be husband, was in the middle of that, and nobody like sent the guards in there.
Well, they ran in. You see him come down the stairs, but then you see one of them just like grab her and pull her away.
Yeah,
but they don't stop anything else going on. My assumption was because it was him and he's one of the main Kingsguard, they just were like, well, he must have a good fucking reason for whatever he's doing, and they weren't going to stop him.
And those are like the top of the top. And even if I'm in the Kingsguard, do I really want to touch a Lannister and pull him off someone? Like, I don't want to be that dude who pulls a Lannister off and he gets hit in the eye and goes blind in that eye, and it's my fault because I tried to break the fight up. And like, no, dude, I don't want to. Like, if they're all rich and powerful, they'll handle their own. I don't know. I think it's cool that we are seeing the more of the intricacies of the dynamics with the families and power. I like all that. That's neat to me. I think that's some of the best stuff in Game of Thrones is, I'm from this family and I have this and I'm powerful, or like that's a cool aspect of this. I mean, I like the guts and the glory and the chopping up and the fighting, but just the politics of everything is very fun.
I mean, that was some of the best parts of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and the subtleties.
With some of that. Like, I mean, the battles and the action and stuff was awesome. I mean, no doubt about it. And I love what we've gotten out of this, whether it's like fucking 2 weeks ago with Damon just fucking doing some badass shit for the last 5 minutes, 10 minutes of the show. But I mean, Game of Thrones is, Game of Thrones. It's not Game of fucking battle. You know what I mean? That's what it's about.
That stuff was always cool to me. Like, what's his name? The guy who was shaved head that whispered to everybody, knew everything. What was his name in the original?
Lord Varys.
Yeah, very. Like, he was a dynamic, fun character. Littlefinger.
Oh, he was great.
Was a great character. These people that orchestrate and know things and whisper, like, that's a cool aspect. That's why it's just fun. And I think that this is if they continue with this, we're going to be really great. I feel like they're going to make good decisions with the new actors. So I have faith that we'll continue on good. Yeah. I just think that they really could have played it. Those girls could have hung the show.
I think so too. I agree with that.
You tell me they're 26, I believe it, and then they're going to age a few years, and they'll look like it's fine. But I get.
Here's the thing. So, as far as the switch off with those two actresses go, I know that they hired the older versions of them first, because they were the first ones hired to play those parts, and then they went back and find people to play the younger versions of them for the beginning of the show. So I got some faith in it for that reason. But I will say, first of all, I know the actress that's going to play
Rhaenyra.
No,
or Alicent.
Alicent. I know the actress that's going to play Alicent. She's been in a bunch of stuff. She was in Ready Player One. She's been in a lot of stuff. She's a good actress. And the actress that's played Alicent so far has been fine, but nothing really stood out about her. So I'm looking forward to that changeover. But I will say, knowing jack shit about either actress that's playing Rhaenyra, that chick that's been playing her for the first 5 episodes has done a fucking fantastic job.
Yes.
And I'm going to find it hard to believe that whoever comes next is going to do better than that. I'm sure she's fine. She was hired first. I'm sure she's going to be great. But like this chick nailed that fucking role in these first 5 episodes. And what I've heard is because of that, specifically because of the response that the actors have gotten in this first 5 episodes, specifically her, that they're going to be working in flashbacks in season 2.
That's good.
It's already been picked up, so those actors can come back and do flashback scenes as the story moves forward. So, because she's nailed it, man. She's been great as Rhaenyra. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow night's episode. I'm sure the chick who's going to play her is going to do a great job. Everything's going to be fine. It is going to be a little weird because this is the first time really we've seen that in Game of Thrones. They never really Game of Thrones through 8 seasons, obviously moved forward in time, years over the course of those 8 seasons. But never to the point to where they replaced actors to play an older version of somebody else, at least not on any main characters. There might have been a couple of side characters that I'm not remembering that might have had different actors playing them. In fact, I'm pretty sure there was a couple that had different actors playing them at the beginning of the show versus the end of the show, but it wasn't because they had aged or anything like that. It was just because they had to change actors or something like that. So we'll see. Show's been fucking nailing it so far, so I'm going to trust them at this point.
I don't know if it'll happen in the first season, but I'm hoping with at least in the second, they'll go and tell us how and what was involved with building the wall. That big ass ice wall in the north.
That would be cool. Because originally, and they had talked about this. Originally, the original plan for a sequel for Game of Thrones was supposed to be a show that focused on Bran. I forget what house he was from, but the original Bran, that the Bran we know from Game of Thrones was named after, and he was Bran the Builder. He was the guy that engineered and built the fucking wall. And that was the original. That was what the original story was going to be. And then for whatever reason, they didn't, go with that. But I would love to see a whole show based around that, because I think that would be, to put for them, because that happened however many thousands of years ago. For them to have been in that space, like what had happened? Had they seen White Walkers? Had they just had because I don't know the story, what the history is there of what spurred them to build the wall. We know it had something to do with the threats beyond the wall. Was it?
And it's a magical wall, so I would love to see how they created that, what process and.
Yeah, that would be a cool story, because it was thousands of years ago, but I don't even remember hearing, was that like the last time humans had seen the White Walkers, or was it just they knew White Walkers existed but hadn't seen them in a long time, so they built the wall anyway? Or was it, like I said, direct response to like having just, fought white? I don't know. I don't know what the story is. I'm sure people who've read the books would know better. But either way, I think it would be a cool story to tell. But
I concur. So the Lannister that we've seen so far, the one that was wanting to try to marry Rhaenyra in the beginning, is that Tywin's grandfather or great grandfather?
Well, it's 172 years, I think. So. Like great grandfather, maybe.
Because I know they typically live for a while. So
yeah, and then because we've seen him and we've seen his brother, so it's both of them. Because were they twins? I don't know.
Yeah, they were twins.
So we've seen both of them, and but yeah, because 172 years, you figure new generation every 20 to 30, give or take. So how many generations is that? That's a lot.
Yeah, his great grandfather. So yeah.
We do have a super chat here from Stephen Carroll. Says, Duke, how's it going?
He said he'd be right back.
Oh shit, we left. Well, anyway, and then he went on to say some other things. He says, I picked up the Bill Burr Star Wars figure because Bill Burr, hoping SH Figure Arts makes a Beast Gohan. I'd buy that in a heartbeat. SH Figure Arts makes some great fucking shit. I really do like their stuff. I've got that little fucking Bill Burr dude. I was surprised. This is a teeny tiny. This is like the shit you used to play with when you were a kid. Old school Star Wars, little teeny tiny fucking figures, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not even 4 inches tall. And you take his helmet off. I swear to God, it's hard to tell in this light, but I did a video on it. He looks like fucking Bill Burr. That is fucking Bill Burr right there. The detail that they put in these little fuckers is great. Like they've done a really good job with those. And yeah, that's why I bought it too. I was like, well, fuck, it's Bill Burr. How do I not buy that fucking figure? That's great.
To be so tiny, they do have some good detail.
Yeah, they really do. I was surprised. I mean, because I the stuff that I collect, I don't collect, this size stuff really at all. But I'll tell you, this is what got me collecting that stuff. The smaller figure. First of all, they're cheaper. They're way fucking cheaper. But I haven't, and I've collected off and on pretty much my entire life. But it was really only the last 10 years that I've gotten, more serious about it. Really started collecting stuff, and I never got into the smaller figures. So I was like, well, that's the shit I played with as a kid. It's not as detailed. It's not as cool, blah, 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 whatever. And so I kind of just stayed away from it. And then there's two things. One, I subscribed to a channel that does nothing but collect those. And I started watching him. And then I saw this dude at Target. And I was looking at him in the package, and I've always liked Star Wars, but I didn't really collect the 3 3/4 inch stuff. And I was like, "Fuck, that really looks like Bill Burr." And it was like $10, and I was like, "Shit, you know what? I'm gonna get that because that shit's really cool." And that was however long ago it was, and then that just got me like buying more of them. I was like, "Well, these are fucking really cool." I mean, they fucking look great.
Wasn't that supposed to be Bill Burr?
Yeah, this is the Bill Burr. You can't tell from this.
I can. I mean, it's neat,
but it's a tiny figure. It's just like it's the same size as the old school Star Wars figures and GI Joes we used to play with when we were a kid.
Yeah,
and it legit looks just like Bill Burr.
Well, for me, the articulation on those is good.
They're great.
Overdone articulation can ruin figures to an extent for me. Like some of the Marvel stuff, the Spider-Man stuff is the worst, where it's like over articulation so much that their shoulders are like inside their chest.
Yeah. Well, and see, I like that stuff, especially for Spider-Man.
I get it because they want him to. I know.
All kinds of positions and shit, and like make him do all kinds of crazy shit.
It's not the Toy Biz 1991 style.
No, it's not. Arms I got a bunch of those too, but
I know those are my favorite. But I get it. But hey, what's up, Stephen Carroll? Sorry, I want to make sure I talk to your super chat. So that's cool.
But these have like just enough articulation. You know what I mean? Their elbows bend, their knees bend, and they turn at the waist.
Yeah, GI Joe status. G.I. Joe,
this is basically like the old G.I. Joe figures as far as the amount of articulation these things have.
Yeah.
Except they're just way more detailed than the shit we got in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, again, legit. Like, I was looking at some of these guys, and he looks like fucking Bill Burr. And I got one of Han Solo, and it fucking looks like Harrison Ford. I got Mace Windu. Swear to God, that's fucking... There's no denying that is goddamn... and again, it's hard to see, but that is fucking Samuel L. Jackson. Like,
well, there's got to be something said when it's who's producing those.
Hasbro, which I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of Hasbro because they like to fuck their customers over. They just haven't done so yet with these little ones.
Well, and like I remember some toys growing up, if they didn't pay for the likeness, the character couldn't look just like them.
Yeah,
and so I always hated that because I'm like, this isn't who I paid for. Like, this is. Wish.com Luke Skywalker or whatever it was.
Yeah. I loved my old school fucking figures like nobody's business. I've got some of the old ones.
Luke had like a huge chest in my original Luke Skywalker. I'm like,
you had the 90s ones, right? The Power of the Force. Yeah. Those are like this dude right here. So this was my favorite Han Solo as a kid, which is him in his Empire Strikes Back outfit. And I got this. This is an original one from 1980. And that looks absolutely nothing like Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
But again, the technology wasn't there to, I mean, it's kind of, it's like, again, like you said, Wish.com Harrison Ford or whatever. But as a kid in the 80s, like, I don't give a fuck. I'm like, that's Han Solo, goddammit.
Damn it.
But they can do a whole lot more now, obviously. That just, I mean, I got a figure from the new Black Adam movie that hadn't come out yet of The Rock. And goddamn, if that's just the fucking Rock, it just looks like The Rock at like 7 inches tall.
Yo, I got look in the side chat. I put an eBay item up. You got to pull this Luke Skywalker up, dude. This dude's chest is he's a bodybuilder.
Let's see.
Check this out, and then zoom in on the character chest.
Oh yeah.
I
remember this one. I'm pretty sure I owned this one. Here, I'm gonna screen share this shit right here.
Do you not have all of the different times of Star Wars ones? Like there's series or runs or whatever you didn't have?
I just was in the 90s in the Power of the Force. That was my big thing. But if you just like scroll over his chest,
they said in this one TV show, it's all about Star Wars figures. Like when they came back and forth out of popularity, like different companies would take.
You look at that dude. That is
man.
He done started doing the Arnold Schwarzenegger workout for that shit. That motherfucker is cut.
Look at his thighs, man.
Look at that. He's got big ass hands.
Mark Hamill wished he looked like that.
Masters of the Universe, He-Man. Like He-Man, Luke Skywalker status.
That's what I just said.
Yeah. It's cool. I mean,
they're fun. I've got some old Power of the Force figures, but the ones that I've got are the ones. You remember Shadows of the Empire, that book?
I do. Yes. With the purple background.
Yeah. So I've got some of those. I've got like some of the ones from the figures from that. Like I've got, remember the one of the main characters who was kind of like the Han Solo type character, Dash Rendar.
My favorite character. My favorite action figure. Yes.
Yeah, I've got him. Hold on.
Awesome.
What does it look like?
Yeah, there was a small run of the Shadows of the Empire, which a little tidbit about that is a book that is in between Empire and Return of the Jedi, and they produced a soundtrack, a making of, and the book, and a toy line, and a video game, all like they were doing a movie, but never did a movie. It was kind of a weird thing.
What do they call it? Like, is it legit? Like, is it in the story, or is it one of those?
It was canon for the longest time, except now it's transferred to Legends because Disney doesn't see it as canon anymore.
Yeah,
so it's transferred to Legends.
They redid all their canon,
but it's arguably, I think it's one of the best books written.
Oh, dude, Shadows of the Empire was so fucking good.
Is that the one where the blue guy comes from that you guys talk about?
No, that is the Thrawn trilogy. Actually, that's this guy right here, Grand Admiral Thrawn.
But that's separate.
This is the first.
In my opinion, it's like the best Star Wars book because it answers all your questions of why is Leia hanging out with Chewbacca dressed as a bounty hunter, and where did they track down Han Solo, and where have they been, and what kind of adventures did they have? Like Chewbacca dressed like this was a super cool part of the book.
That's cool.
He gets a haircut. He gets mud all over him.
Your screen bigger, man.
Where's Han Solo while Chewbacca's doing all this?
So Shadows of the Empire takes place between Empire and Jedi when Han Solo's still frozen in carbonite.
How long is that supposed to be? I forgot.
It's like 2 years.
2 years, something like that. Yeah.
3 years. So and it talks about Luke building his lightsaber.
Yeah.
I think I had that one as a kid.
Yeah. I've got here's Dash Rendar.
Yeah, like a super cool looking character.
Yeah.
Good
when
armor.
Did these come out at the time of the book? Like
the book came out mid 90s. Early 90s, the book came out. The toys came out mid 90s with the video game.
So these Star Wars
it was a whole thing. It was a whole campaign. It was like before the internet was really a thing. It was like a multimedia, video games, comic books, just everything, toys, everything you can imagine. Like I got Prince Scissor.
So these are old. These aren't repros or nothing. These are old.
No, these are from 95. Yeah, 95. Yeah, 95.
Yeah. Well, this was a really fun line. The book's, like I said, the book's fun. It was one of those things as a kid you always heard, like, oh, they're gonna make a movie. Yeah, and that was the big rumor, as you heard on the playground.
Which would have made a fucking awesome movie, by the way.
Well, and they could have done it because it was only 10 years from the original, but you know how that goes. I mean, there's some cool.
Luke in his Imperial Guard outfit.
This is cool.
Yeah, I had that too.
Like in part of the story, he puts one of those suits or something.
Yeah, and then this one, anybody else remember Dark Empire, the Dark Empire comic books?
Yes.
So I've got Luke from the Dark Empire comic books.
Oh, that's cool.
He's in his fucking badass, like fucking.
Yeah, they must do scans, huh? Like scans
Yeah.
of the people's heads.
And then this one I
they
picked
run
up just
it.
because it was fucking Boba Fett. So
Oh yeah.
just the
See, I've
regular
got
Boba Fett figure.
I've got a whole line
So.
of Power of the Force put away in box for my son when he watches Star Wars for the first time.
Oh, nice.
So like
When
I'm gonna wait till he's like 6, and then we're gonna watch Star Wars, and I'm gonna give him the whole line. It's just like 10 or 12 of the first main figures. You know, Darth Vader, C-3PO, R2, Han Solo, Stormtrooper. You know, Luke, Obi-Wan. I'm gonna give them to him.
When I went out with my daughters today, we went by this toy shop, and they had a whole bunch of these fuckers.
They're cheap,
and
they're cheap.
They're like the cost of like something new today. So like I almost bought a couple of them. They had one that's a Yoda because I don't have a Yoda yet.
Yeah.
They had one that was the Darth Vader. I don't have him yet, even though he's like fucking Luke.
He's bulked up.
He's big ass Darth Vader. They had Luke in his Hoth outfit. They had a couple Princess Leia's, which I don't care about because even she's bulked up. It's like
she looks so weird. That's a horrible.
Not a good look for her. They had Han Solo and Carbonite. They had a couple of those.
That's actually cool because
they're all the figures were between anywhere. Like the cheapest ones were $5, and the most expensive one was Darth Vader. He was 20.
Oh, that ain't bad.
Yeah,
these are old original ones. Like these are collectibles.
Yeah, these are all from like 1995. This one's from 94. I think this one's from 94. So it depends on when they came out. But it was a line that came out for like 4 years, maybe in the mid 90s.
They talked about it on that show, but they made it the way that because on the show they had them out of the packaging, right? So I got the impression they were the size of He-Man guys that were bigger. They're not. No. They're only the size of Star Wars figures.
Well, yeah, they're the same size as like if you take the original Star Wars figures.
They just look like He-Mans because in this book or in that show,
they're bigger and bulkier.
They were out like on your shelf and they look like they were He-Man size.
Yeah. No,
the big thing was, you know, this was 20 years later, so all the kids that like played with their Star Wars stuff and then wanted collectibles, this is what everyone bought 10 of, thinking that it was going to turn into like Collectible City, when in all reality, everyone did that. So like at the time.
And because Hasbro at the time, or Kenner, I can't remember if it was Hasbro yet or if it was still Kenner, but either way.
I think by then.
I can't remember. Hasbro may have bought out Kenner by that point, but these are still marked Kenner.
I think so.
They still put out Kenner stuff today under the name Kenner.
No, that's the thing, right? Like the Barbie place bought Kenner, and then they just started putting out the toys with that name because they would kill the name or whatever.
Yeah, so I don't know if it was Kenner or Hasbro or what, but the thing is because of the popularity of the stuff in the 80s, like not only did everybody go buy these things thinking they were going to be worth a lot of money, but they produced so fucking many of them, which I think is cool because then if I want to pick some of this old stuff up, it doesn't cost me a lot to go pick up some of these things. If
like
I think
G.I. Joe, like the G.I. Joes that are like
fucking insanely priced, dude.
Hundreds of dollars for one loose figure.
Insanely fucking priced.
Because they're rare, you mean? Like they're not.
Because everyone played with them and took them out of packages. No one collected them, and so now stuff that's in package is crazy. Like even if it's loose and it's decent, it's worth money. If you have broken G.I. Joe stuff, it's worth money. Yep. It's crazy. G.I. Joe is
because there's people out there that repair them now.
And they can print them. They can print pieces.
Yeah. You can 3D print all the pieces and all the stuff. You can buy brand new, freshly 3D printed G.I. Joe figures all over eBay.
Yeah, they're crazy.
There's people that on Etsy that do nothing but just make recreations of fucking G.I. Joe figures. You just go buy.
Would you rather have like the missing one 3D printed or like just some? I would call it like what do they call that when you make your own?
Bootleg, basically, kind of, sort of.
Well, I don't know.
But these are well done. The ones I see are well done. They're people who are getting.
Would you rather have a duplicate replica or just a new character? Like if they're going to make it from scratch anyway, make some character that never existed. Or would you rather?
I like the original ones, man. I've looked at them from time to time because there's some of the like if I could have a line just for collector's purposes, right? Like it's not anything because it's too expensive that I would ever really get into collecting. But if I could have like a Flint, a Duke, a Shipwreck, I'd want to Snake Eyes. Why not?
Zamox and Toma.
A Cobra Commander, I'd love to have a Serpentor. Like, there's some of the original ones. There's about 20 of the original ones that I would love to have, and then that's pretty much it, because I wouldn't collect them because they're just way too fucking expensive. But there's some I would genuinely love to have.
I want to get one of those Han Solo frozen in carbonite door covers.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like a life-size Han Solo, and you like open up the door, it looks like the thing swings out. You know, those are pretty cool.
Dude, there's somebody out there custom makes refrigerator doors like that.
Oh yeah,
and it's a stainless steel refrigerator with fucking Han Solo doing this on the fucking front, and it's all molded in and shit. Looks fucking sweet. Expensive as fuck. They're thousands of dollars.
You got to be able to lay down, have somebody throw like a wet towel or blanket over you, do like a plaster of Paris or something, and then get out of there.
And like fucking just mold it. Yeah.
That was such a cool thing as a kid. The first time you see that, and you're trying to like think of how it works and all that fun stuff. But
let me ask you, when you're all my toys from back in the day, because we had like bins and bins of GI Joes and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and like all the little vehicles and stuff that go with them, and all like the stupid toys that you bought back in the day because they were cheap, but now you find them on eBay for like $50.
Yeah,
and they're all gone. None of them.
Oh God, I had the one thing that I had more of than I had of anything else my entire childhood was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Really?
That
was your thing?
Like I hit the perfect age of, they came out when I was 11. And you know the TV show came out when I was 11. They started selling the toys.
Regular Star Wars, right? They were already gone by the time you were a kid, right?
No, I had fuck tons of them. I mean, I had like, you know, and I had tons of the ships and stuff.
I had the original 7 or whatever. That was way after. That was way before you, I think.
Well, yeah, because I was born in '77, so all the stuff I had, all the stuff I had was. You know, like there's a lot of the original ones that I didn't get new or anything like that. But starting around when I was 3, 4 years old,
people would have traded you for them at no point.
I mean, I had a ton of fucking Star Wars. I had a ton of fucking Star Wars stuff, and I had, God, I wish I still had some of the shit. I mean, I do have a Millennium Falcon. I bought a Millennium Falcon about 4 years ago, and it's in great shape. But one of the things I had that I wish I still had today, because it's worth a fuck ton of money, and I actually kept it in really, really good condition as a kid, was, remember the Imperial Shuttle, the big tri-wing fucking thing?
Oh, the red one?
With the wings folded down. I had that fucking thing as a kid.
Oh no, they're white.
And that thing is worth so much, and it's so fucking cool too. It's the biggest thing they made for Star Wars. No, it actually wasn't.
It was fragile.
My Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles all had battle scars from doing battle with the Shredder, because I would take a steak knife and give them, so that way they all had backstories. Yeah, like they all had backstories from my imagination of battles that they had, and like, oh yeah, that was the time that Shredder stole April O'Neil and did this or whatever, and you know, Michelangelo had to take him on. That's why he's got those 3 slashes on his shell.
Yeah, like, that's cool,
dude. I literally, because again, like I said, with the Ninja Turtles, they came out when I was 11. So by that time, I'm getting an allowance, right, for doing chores and stuff. When I was 13, I started working. Me and a friend used to help deliver newspapers, you know, with his dad, and we would go around because he delivered to grocery stores and stuff like that. And so 2 nights a week on the weekends, we would go with him, and we'd slip the newspapers together, because they put him in the back of this big fucking truck that he drove, like in sections. And so we would sit in the back and put all the sections together and stack up the papers, and he would pay us $75 a night, and we worked 2 nights a week, 2 nights a weekend. We worked Friday night and Saturday night. And so I was making $150 a week at 13.
Did you have to look out of there and deliver them, like when you'd have to leave?
No, he delivered everything. We would stand in the back. We'd pick up the papers at midnight, and he had to have everything delivered by 6 a.m. So we would sit in the back and slip the sections of the papers into the header section and stack them up, so that when he would go to this gas station or that grocery store or wherever, and he would deliver however many papers.
Oh, it was stacks at a time. It wasn't. I was thinking about like a delivery route where you were on each one.
Okay, and all we did was slip the stuff together in the back.
Oh yeah, that saved them like an hour or more.
So
right?
So we would get paid $75 to work about 3 hours, and then we would sleep in the back of the truck while he finished delivering everything up till 6 o'clock in the morning. So I was making $150 a week at 13, and I just spent it all on Ninja Turtles. Dude, I had the Terradrome, I had the sewer playset, I had the turtle van, that fucking Cadillac, I forget what it's called, the hovercraft Cadillac that those alien kids from Dimension X drove around in. I had that. I had the turtle blimp. Remember, you blew it up?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I had every fucking vehicle. I had every fucking figure.
Did you have Crane's fucking space tip?
Oh yeah. And I had what was the
speeder thing or whatever it was? That center.
Yeah. That's the Terradrome.
Yeah.
And I had the what was the thing? Fuck, I can't remember the name of it. The drill thing that would drill underground. It had the big fucking drill bit on the fucking front of it.
How big is the Terradrome? Is it bigger than
it's about this big, so it's a little bigger than a basketball, basically.
Okay.
Is how big it was. I had all that shit because that's all I was spending my fucking money on was that shit for like a solid 4 years, from like 11 to 15, and then I started growing out of it.
The Ninja Turtle dudes are bigger than Star Wars figure dudes. They're more like a He-Man, right?
A little bit, yeah. They're like 5-inch figures, yeah. So they're roughly He-Man size, maybe a little shorter. Depends on the characters because they make characters of all different sizes. But
figure their ships and cars and stuff are bigger than Star Wars figure stuff. Then
yeah, but it was sweet. I loved fucking Ninja Turtles, and I think because it came at a time when I could afford to buy fucking everything I wanted and all that shit, and so that was. That was the line I had the most.
Toys R Us. You weren't getting it any kind of cheap way or buying old stuff.
No, I used to go to KB Toys. We would pick stuff up from. I'd get stuff from. We had not too far from where I lived in Dallas. We had a Sears outlet store, which is where they sell stuff that had like damaged boxes and shit, and you would get everything really fucking cheap. I would pick up stuff from. We had a place called Children's Palace, which was cheaper than Toys R Us. I mean, I bought shit at Toys R Us too. But I lived in Dallas, and there's lots of shit everywhere, and so there was availability to get this stuff pretty much everywhere you go. So, yeah, that's what I spent my money on for a couple of years was just buying those fucking things. So that was the line, like I said, that I had the most shit from. And
is that Duke that bought the line of Star Wars figure stuff?
Yeah.
The Power of the Force stuff. When you give the kid this stuff, are you gonna be like, here's the collectible stuff, you can put it on the wall and look at it, or are you gonna let the kid open it up, play with it as Star Wars figures?
There is no Duke, only Zor.
Where did Duke go?
I'm sorry, what's up? What was that question? I'm sorry.
When you give the kid the set of Star Wars figures, is that so that they can play with them? They can open them up and play with them like Star Wars figures?
100% the point is to open them up and to have the joy of opening up figures that he just watched. I get it. If he wants to, get some more and collect them, it's going to be a big thing. I'll get him a whole line of stuff that he'll never open for that reason. But like the point is to try and share the joy of watching Star Wars than having Star Wars figures.
Being able to play Star Wars right away.
It's hard. Like he just got out of he's getting out of the Thomas the Trains, and he's getting into Transformers, which is really cool and fun. They've got like a younger Transformer line that's not as hard to play with, that are kind of like in between, and it's fun to see him get excited about like Optimus Prime and Bumblebee and Megatron. Like, so it's kind of a cool thing where he's starting to get into these things, and he's big into Transformers now. So
maybe you should just start buying him like 2 of everything, and it's like, here's the one that you can play with, and if you pick this one, you're out of the family.
But I think like that's all done. Like the whole thing of like things being in the box and new, like even 20 years from now, it's not going to be the same that it was in like the 70s and 80s.
Here's the thing. That is not true. As somebody who actively collects toys, that is not true. There is still stuff that, depending on where you got it and depending on what line it's from and depending on so many different factors, still can be worth a lot of money, literally sometimes immediately after it's released. There are things that I've wanted that I couldn't find anywhere, and before you know it, it's something that retailed for $25, and like literally as soon as it comes out, because of so many different factors, it's selling on eBay for $60, and that's the only place you can fucking get it.
I get it.
So it really depends on what it is. Some stuff will be collectible. And you got to remember, there's a whole group of kids. Like when your son is 30, 40 years old,
Yeah.
He's going to be like us and remember that shit he played with as a kid, and it's going to be worth a lot of money by then.
Hopefully,
Now,
Duke does a better job as a father, and he's nothing like us when he gets that age.
I think at some point, right now, let's say you have to go back and find this stuff from place, or like, let's say the stuff that you have collected over the time. You found a lot of that stuff at stores and saved it from being thrown away from clearance or something. But now there's collections, right? So when people get old and their kids sell their collections off, it'll be like eBay's just flooded with them. And there'll be stores that know what they are, So I think it'll be a little different. They'll be worth a lot of money, but I think it'll be easier. It'll be more like, I want that collectible thing. Let me go find where I want to buy the collectible thing at. It won't be so much, let me go try to find or let me go discover collectible things. Like they'll kind of all be documented already now.
Yeah, and part of that is just because technology has advanced so much. And knowledge with the internet and everything and eBay and all this stuff. It's a lot harder for things to go unnoticed for long periods of time.
Like if they sent out a toy with the double stamp of the clothes or something, like something wrong with the toy, and 100 of them went out, immediately they'd know, oh, there should be 100 of these out there, and they went to this region, and boom, 99 of them are taken.
And that stuff just all because there was no internet or no nothing. All that stuff from the 80s is just like, that was just discovered later on. Or it was some figure that in the 80s nobody fucking bought and nobody knew about it and everybody forgot about it until 20 years later. And it's like, oh, if you actually have one of these still in the package, it's worth $400 or some shit, right? And that type of stuff doesn't
comes out
really,
in March and nobody buys it.
Yeah, and that type of stuff doesn't really happen anymore. So the reason that values go up now, honestly, has because unlike when we were kids, there are two distinct toy markets. There is kids' toys and collectors' toys. And when you go into Walmart, half the shit in Walmart, Target, wherever, half the shit there is not intended for kids. That like you go into a fucking Walmart and walk down the toy aisle, half the dudes there are just fucking like dudes that are by themselves. They ain't got no kids with them. They're collectors. And that's just how it is. So the market has been split up, and when you look at toys, you can tell the difference between a toy that was designed for a kid and a toy that was designed for a collector.
Dude, what makes me upset is the what was marketed to us when we were kids was trading cards, right? And you'd hear the stories from your dad about how he used to buy packs of bubble gum. There's a Mickey Mantle card, and they just throw them away because who cares? And now it's worth like thousands of dollars or whatever. So you better hang on to these cards. And then Topps was like, oh, okay, we'll produce 100 billion of these cards for everybody so that you can have them because that all the kids want them, and that was the thing.
Yeah.
Now it's like, look up like a 1993 Topps set. It's like $15. I mean, not literally.
Well, remember when we were looking up those Marvel cards?
Yeah.
And you get like a whole set for like $80.
I was super upset about that because I spent hundreds of dollars in like 1995 money.
Yeah,
exactly. They're investing.
Well, I did the same thing with comics. Right, I did the same thing with fucking comics, right? And then the 90s came along, and they just destroyed the comic market. Now, if you were lucky enough to get stuff, first appearances, number one issues, whatever it was, from before they just slammed the market with shit, right? You've got something that's still worth it. But in the 90s, they just destroyed the fucking comic book market. And they convinced everybody that you had to buy like 5 of every number one issue. And they didn't tell you, well, yeah, we're also producing millions of copies of every number one issue. So they're not fucking rare at all. And we're introducing characters that in 10 years, nobody's going to give a shit about. And so now you can just like fucking find that shit, at your local comic book store for like $5 or whatever. And it ain't worth shit, right? Because they made so many of them and they were just pumping out shit because the comic industry profited a lot in the early 90s by the fact that there were a lot of people coming into comic collecting in the 80s that were seeking out all these old issues and all these things, and everybody got it in their fucking heads that, oh, if you buy something now, it's going to be worth something in 10 or 20 years. And the comic companies were like, hey, we can take advantage of this. Let's just fucking keep introducing new characters, and we'll keep mass producing these things, and we'll sell them hand over fist. And they fucking did. They made a lot of fucking money in the early 90s selling that shit.
The other one that makes me upset is Magic the Gathering. Because I had
that game.
First and second edition Magic the Gathering cards up the wazoo. And
aren't those still worth something though?
Oh yeah, first gen, dude. Like some of the cards are like tens of thousands of dollars if you want to buy it, right?
Yeah.
And I had several of like the Lotus cards and other things, and we would just play with them and like, oh, that one got creased up and bent up, whatever. I guess I can't play with that anymore. Like if I had known back then, I would have just left all of those cards in the freaking package and never even touched them ever. Or
shit.
Yeah, and then now just be like, okay, I'm retired on my Magic.
Yeah, I need to buy a card. Let me bust out a card.
Right.
That made sense.
I'm a little younger.
Oh, trust me, this card's Magic. It'll buy me a car.
But do y'all remember? I think it was like the late '80s, maybe early '90s. The when the Ghostbusters backpack and little gun and the dude, I had those. I miss. It was so much fucking fun. And
those things are worth so much money now.
Yeah, the way I got it was I was with a friend and his grandma, and we were in the car, and she was stopped at a stop sign, and she started to turn right. And for whatever fucking reason, I opened the door and fall out, and she almost ran over me. And she felt so fucking bad and guilty that happened. She bought me everything Ghostbusters. I was like, I'm sorry, dude. I thought I was king shit with that backpack and trap and everything. Yeah. I got a picture of it somewhere, me dressed up for Halloween one year as Ghostbuster.
Jesus. Here, let me get these super chats. We got a couple super chats I got to catch up on. Sorry, guys. We just got on a roll here. We'll get back to it. MTS1993 says, is House of the Dragon going to eventually end seasons from now with Jaime Lannister killing the Mad King and Daenerys and Viserys?
No.
From Westeros? No, I don't think it's going to go that far. This show's just going to focus on the build-up and then probably towards the end of this Civil War.
But if I could vote, what I want to see is Robert's Rebellion.
Oh yeah,
that's what I want right there with the young Ned Stark.
And the young Robert Baratheon.
There's a lot of good stories to tell in this world. I mean, if they do it right, which so far they are, they could keep this going. You know, just do a few seasons on a specific storyline. And then, end it and then do something else and then do something else and whatever it is. And just keep it going because there's a lot of good stories to tell here. It's a good fantasy world that has been built up, that's got enough, characters and stories and magic. And I still want I want more about the Lord of Light. Like, I want to get some details back because as we saw in Game of Thrones, like whatever the fuck it is the only god that we've seen talked about in all of Game of Thrones that actually does shit, right? Like, he actually brings people back to life and fucking flame swords and all the stuff that was done in his name, right? Like, so there's something there, right? He's not just one of the seven, right? Like, that's another one of the gods that are talked about, the seven, right? That seemingly in no way affect the real world, right? So who knows if they're real or not, right? But Lord of Light, there's real shit happening, real magical, supernatural shit.
How many times did he bring back Robert Dondarrion?
It was like 8 times or something. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So like I'd love to get a story, maybe having something to do with that. I mean, there's so many cool stories they could tell in this world that there's a lot there. So if they just do it right, keep it good, keep it consistent, know when to end a story and end it the right way. Don't rush it like they did with the last season of Game of Thrones. They can keep this going for a while because it's a really cool world.
I'd kind of like to see a little bit of a backstory of the Faceless Man with Yakin Hagar, or however you say his name.
Yeah. Or like
I thought that was a cool
origin of that whatever they call themselves, that organization of the Faceless Men. See how that shit got started. There's a lot of really cool stuff they could do.
They could also do like what's her face? The young Stark daughter, Arya, how she leaves Westeros and she wants to know what's west of Westeros.
Yeah, you could do a whole story on her basically being Magellan, right? Like
exactly,
a Magellan type story of her discovering what's on the other side of the Western Sea.
There's lots of maps who would like that.
Probably. We got another super chat from Tara. What's up, Tara? Says, I like the TNT, I mean TMNT, arcade game at the mall. Man, we went to this And to play into that, first of all, that game was awesome. But all those games that came out like in the early 90s where it was those 4-player games, there was X-Men, TMNT, Simpsons. There were several of them where they had the 4 joysticks and you could play one.
I remember, yeah.
And those things were fucking great. But we went, the toy store we went to today, or one of them, when I was taking my daughters out, had those, those ones they sell at Walmart or whatever, the mini arcades.
Yeah.
And they had one of the Simpsons. And both my girls, my 8-year-old, my 13-year-old, sat there and played as Bart and Maggie for like 30 minutes, just sitting there. Like they were completely engrossed. I was like, "Do you want one of these now?" And my 8-year-old's like, "Yes, I want one." I was like,
this is fucking awesome, man.
Those things are great, and I just never. They were having a fucking ball, just playing. Bart's my 13-year-old's beating shit with Bart's fucking skateboard, and my 8-year-old's like because Lisa's running around with her jump rope and smacking people and shit, and they were having fun, man. They played like 3 levels of that damn game, sitting there because it's just a game that the store has set up for people to sit there and play and stuff.
Aren't those like $100 or something?
I don't remember. It's been a while.
They're a lot. They're a ton of money.
The most expensive one I saw was the Mortal Kombat one, and it was like $3.99.
Yeah, they're all $3.99, and they come. You got to remember they come short, so they sell separately another.
It's like a box, a stand for it or something.
Sits on.
Yeah,
it's cool. I just don't know how because I've kind of looked at them. There's a Terminator 2 one that I really was into, but it's they're small, they're dinky, and do I want to spend $300-$400 on that, or do I want to spend $1,000 and get like an original one?
Oh, it'd be cool, but I guarantee you can't get an original one that works for $1,000.
Yeah.
Eric out the chat talking about the Michael Jackson
game.
Do you remember the Nintendo version? There was a Nintendo Michael Jackson game where you'd like kick Stardust when he does his move and it would like take out the bad guy.
Yeah, it was the Moonwalker game.
Yeah.
Moonwalker. Yeah.
He was fighting the Illuminati. Yeah.
That was great. Dude, the one
before Michael Jackson got in all of his legal troubles or whatever, like he was the biggest thing there was
in the world.
Period. There like nobody was no band, no TV show, no toy, no subject, no item, nothing held a candle to Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the child things happened, and it was like overnight a light switch flicked off. And
that's a hard. I mean, well, I'll leave it alone. But yes, that's cool. It's just that's a fun time of video games.
One of the games I love. I don't know if y'all played this. The Aerosmith game. Do you remember the Aerosmith shooter game?
No.
Okay, so there was this Aerosmith shooter game, and it was an arcade game, and it had 2 guns. You like the actual guns. You hold the gun and you shoot at the screen.
So you were Jaime.
And you sat there and you shot CDs. It shot CDs. And it was the funnest fucking game. I got to pull this shit up. I got to find it. I know this fucking thing is on YouTube somewhere. This thing.
You remember Ninja Gaiden?
Yes.
Ninja Gaiden.
It was always in Pizza Hut.
Yes.
Like, the lobby area, and you could like pop in some quarters and either play that or like Centipede or whatever else they had. But
what's the one with
Ninja
the
Gaiden
rings? What's the ring one? The one with the rings. You put the rings on your finger. You turn into different animals or something.
The ring?
It was a Sega game. It was like the.
You talking about Altered Beast?
Yes, Altered Beast.
Yeah. Altered Beast was fucking great. Yeah. Here, I found it. So I knew somebody on YouTube would have this. First of all, okay, let me screen share here real quick. So, hold on. Let me find it. Okay, so this is I get fucking ads. God damn it. Come on, hurry up. Skip ad. Here we go. This is the game.
I'm smoking marijuana because Matt told me to.
So, it's called Revolution X. Right?
Oh, I remember this.
Okay. It had the 2 fucking guns on top, like this.
Oh yeah. Damn, that's
okay.
Old.
But yeah, so that's the arcade they had. But then this is what this was like the playthrough. I
remember the box. The box was cool to me as a kid.
Were they Uzis?
And yeah, you're shooting fucking CDs. You're shooting fucking CDs.
Man. Shooting CDs at the man.
This game was fucking awesome.
This was during the anti-gun movement of the early 90s.
And you're fighting the New World Order.
Yeah.
That's what you're fighting. You're Aerosmith with guns that shoot CDs, fighting the New World Order. Yeah. It was fucking great, man. This game was fucking great.
You need to remake this, except for you're fighting the liberal world order.
And instead of CDs, it's knowledge.
It's like I don't know what it'd be.
Facts.
YouTube videos.
USB cards or something.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, there was a bunch of this game was fucking great.
So this is like the Terminator then. This is like the Terminator.
Yeah, very much like the Terminator game was. Yeah.
Terminator 2 game was like this. I thought
it almost seems like our CD-ROMs are having no effect on that armored helicopter.
I know, isn't it crazy?
Do you ever play Mad Dog?
Mad Dog.
It was like this was a cowboy game, and it was you had to holster the gun, and this was like early. This was like it was shot with like live video, and then but you would shoot the screen. Do you ever remember that? Mm-hmm. It was like a movie, but you would shoot characters on the screen and they would fall down, so it would be like simulated. But it was it's like that cop training stuff that they had in the early 90s and 80s, where you're in a room and it's like a video they play, but you have a gun, and you would do like the draw test. It's that kind of stuff. It's that technology.
I don't remember that one.
You don't remember that?
No, I don't.
Oh yeah, Mad Dog.
Was this like at least mid 90s?
Early 90s. It's called like the flash guns or something. So it would be a flash and it would shoot the screen. Anyways, it was fun.
I don't remember this one. I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember the ones back in the day. The one I loved was Space Ace. You remember Space Ace?
No.
And Space Ace was just animated. And so all you really did was like you would push a joystick in a certain direction and hit a button, and then it was like watching a cartoon. And it was remember Don Bluth, who did all the fucking cartoons back then? So it was a Don Bluth video game. So he had done this animation, and so it was like a fucking movie. And then it was basically just like you had 2 seconds to push the joystick forward and hit the jump button. And if you didn't, it would play the animated, the cartoon of him falling and dying. But if you didn't, he would jump over the whatever the thing was, and he would keep fighting the fucking bad guy or whatever, right? There was Dragon's Lair and there was Space Ace. And one was medieval, Dragon's Lair was medieval, and Space Ace was futuristic, and he was the guy with the fucking laser gun and shit. Those were fucking great back in the day. I used to play the shit out of those as a kid. They weren't very they were barely video games.
Oh,
you know what I mean? They were barely video games. You were basically doing it for the story, and then you had those quick time responses you had to get in.
Yeah.
It would flash on the screen, to do this, and you would do that real quick to keep the fucking cartoon going.
Mid to late 90s, where you had a sniper rifle and you look through the scope. Do you remember that game?
Yeah.
Time Crisis, maybe something like that.
Time Crisis was different, but I know that one too.
The one where you had a sniper rifle and you looked down the barrel and the scope, and you could see what you could see on the screen, but like magnified. That was awesome.
Yeah,
that was some good stuff.
Oh, Tom F in the chat says Silent Scope.
Yeah, Silent Scope. There you go.
Silent Scope. Although Time Crisis was awesome too. Time Crisis is the one where you could wasn't that the one where you could slow time or some shit like that?
Well, you would kneel. It
had a foot pedal that would do something, right? And you would duck or something.
You would duck or like jump over a barrel or something.
Yeah,
and you had like 80 rounds for a pistol mag.
Yeah, which is great.
And it would shoot. It would flash back. Your slide would go back.
Yeah,
so it felt like a real gun. It was a cool thing as a kid because it wasn't just a plastic gun that just didn't move at all. This one actually blew back with every round.
Hey Duke, that one you were talking about a while ago, Mad Dog or whatever, was there like a character on the screen that was dressed like a actual bandit, black and white stripes, and they would pop up? Yep, I know what you're talking about.
Dude, I'm trying to remember the name of this one game. It was in the arcades only. You couldn't find it anywhere else. The characters were like photorealistic, like Mortal Kombat, but even more high definition than that. And they all had like pre-screen, like pre-done like lines that they would say, or like you'd hit the punch button and then it would delay for a second, and the guy would punch. But there was no screen. The screen would like pop out of nowhere, and you could stick your finger through it, and it would like your hand would just move through the girl as she's talking or whatever. And this was in like 1992 or something, 94 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot remember the name of the game. I've been looking online for the past 5 minutes for it. I can't find it. And I'm probably the only one who's talking about it.
That sounds familiar, but I don't. I'm trying to picture it in my head.
Like there's no screen. And I don't know how they did it. There was like some kind of projector that would just like make the air turn into a character. It was crazy, dude. It was like, and this is the future of how video games will be. And then no other game ever did it again.
It was probably way too expensive.
Yeah.
And especially at that time when video gaming was moving to consoles and arcades were starting to fucking die out.
Oh, it's such a sad time. Gosh, it was so much.
Fucking love
the
arcade.
It used to be so much more social than it is now. It's like now you're just like, I've got my computer in my room in my house by myself. I'm staring at a magical glowing screen talking to people from across the country.
Well, there's nothing that's going to be hanging out with your homies playing Left 4 Dead. It's amazing. But
it is.
The fact that you used to go to an arcade with random other people and have to wait in line to fight them in Mortal Kombat was like a Mortal Kombat in itself.
Yeah. Remember putting the quarters on the thing to save your space? You're like, I'm next. We used to do that. I don't know
we were in Flint. We didn't put no quarters down. People steal them.
Oh, that's true. You don't want to put quarters down and fucking. Although I grew up in the fucking hood too, motherfucker. I grew up in Pleasant Grove, Texas, which is south of Dallas. I get it.
That comes from the pinball games. People would put them on there.
You're playing Street Fighter 2 and you go through the entire line of people. And you get back to the first person. They're like, you're still, I don't like you.
And the cool thing about that was you only were using one quarter.
Yep. And everyone else had
won, and you were just wrecking these people's lives. Yeah. You're taking their money. It's like the early part of like poker. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're seeing them just dump quarters in, and you're not even letting them move. They don't remember this. Moves, man.
I've watched this video game back in the day when somebody would play it. And I don't remember it being this fast. It would lag, wouldn't it? Like it would.
Well, this is probably like somebody doing it on their computer to upload it to YouTube. So this probably
it would look amazing, but I just mean it wasn't like smooth.
It wasn't as smooth as this. Yeah. But this was it. This was like the Space Age, and these little things would pop up on the screen, and you little quick time events, and you'd have to hit the button in a certain way or move the joystick in a certain way to avoid whatever. But you were basically just watching a fucking cartoon.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
However good you were is how long you could watch the cartoon.
Tom F in the chat is Time Traveler. That's exactly what I was thinking of. How did you... Jesus Christ, man, the fucking collective knowledge of the internet. Thank you.
You went back in time and saw the game and then came back and said...
Yep, that's how it works. Let's look that up. Time Traveler?
1991.
Okay.
The characters in there look like Prince Charming, Ariel, and fucking the genie.
I think it was made by an animation company.
You got to look up
Time Traveler.
Yeah, and you could take your finger and like stick it through the characters and like you wouldn't touch anything. It was just there floating in air somehow.
Wait, you're saying this is like a hologram game?
Yeah, it was like hologram. Kind of.
Oh,
I don't know how to describe it.
Oh, wow. Holy cow.
That's it right there? I don't remember.
That's exactly
what
I was...
looks like fucking Star Wars or some shit. Right? Like, what would we be playing on a Star Wars fucking...
100%. That's what I was talking about. Thank you, Tom F.
And you poke your finger in there to do shit?
No, there's buttons and stuff that you do, but like there's no screen. At least not a normal one.
Right. It was probably like one little screen with a bunch of mirrors and lights and shit and projecting all around. It was just a projection TV. We just didn't have any idea what the fuck it was. We're like, oh my goodness. That looks pretty neat.
No, but I'm telling you, like
I would still play something like this.
That whole thing is open, and you could stick your arm in there and like move your hand, like you're like the cowboy would just like disappear where your finger's at or whatever, and then like
right. It was like a bunch of reflections.
I do remember this. I do remember this.
This was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing. This is how video games are gonna be now. This is like the future. We're living in Jetsons times, man. This is awesome. And then it never happened. No one ever did it again. This is the only game that I can remember like this.
Oh, we got a super chat from Tom. It says, "Great show tonight." Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that, and thank you for telling us what game this is.
Yeah. Can you look up Mad Dog? I just want to show it to you real quick.
Over to the left and right, you could still see it, or do you have to be looking straight on?
You could move around. It was fine. I don't know. I still don't know how they did it.
So it would play like a movie, and you'd have to shoot different areas.
Well, it was kind of. I mean, it wasn't as sophisticated as that because everything was pre-recorded. So it was kind of like a I don't know, a turn-based game where you're like, okay, go left or right, okay, do this or that, you know.
Mad Dog McCree.
Yes, you have like 6 shots, and then your cursor, your gun, you have to pull it out at certain times out of the holster that would be in front of you, and you just go forward. This is a preview. This isn't going to show you any gameplay. There you go. Like you would shoot things. So this would be like the town girl, you're meeting her, and a guy would like run out of the side. You have to shoot him before he shoots you, or like do a draw contest, things like that. Yeah. So it was all done with like video, and it would be like a movie, but then it would play. So you'd be in the saloon, and you have to shoot the guy at the bar first because he drew on you, and then like there'd be a guy in a corner, so it'd be like a reaction thing. But it was a neat way to play the game, and it was always through the story. Like right here, you can't shoot the civilians or you'd lose. So
you gotta wait for somebody to like pop out and shoot them.
Yeah, you can't shoot the lady and the kid, which I shot them a lot. And this guy would get annoying, and he would say so. So like he's going to talk to you for a second, but over his shoulder to the right, this guy's going to come out with a gun, and you'd have to be faster than that guy, or you'd lose. And then it would be and like the Undertaker would talk to you, and he would say like funny things if you died or if you killed a civilian. Yeah. And it was just a really good time, and it was the gun was heavy. It had a good flash point on it, so it was fun stuff. So, anyways, but it was good.
I don't remember this game.
I vaguely remember this game.
Yeah, this is all just a preview. I want to see gameplay. Where's it at?
What year was this?
Late 80s, early 90s.
Like 1990-ish?
Yeah.
I remember that gun, that orange gun.
So you would shoot bottles, too, and it would be
like training. This was like getting yourself ready.
Yeah, so this is the training part. Go a little bit forward, see if it shows some of the gameplay. Oh, right here. Well, right here. Yeah, this guy's gonna come out to the right. Tell this guy to shut up, and you got to save the mayor and his daughter. But it was fun. This is early 90s. There you go. Boom. You got to shoot him. Stuff like this.
It closes super chatty.
And it would flow pretty well. Go a little bit forward, maybe 30, 40 seconds.
Oh, yeah. See, there's score down.
If it goes to the bar scene's pretty cool. Go like 30, 40 seconds. Right here. This stuff. Anyways, this is what it is. It's no big deal.
Where'd they film this at, you think? No recognized movie.
I think I looked it up. I think it's New Mexico. I looked it up one time. It was cool.
Was it like a place where they film TV shows?
I had to have been. I think it was like some Kenny Rogers stuff too. So you would get to choose where you go, and so these guys, and so you got to shoot these guys. There's a guy in the window. The guy in the window would get you, and you only knew if there was smoke billowing from the area, if it shot you. So it was just cool stuff figuring it out. And this part's neat right here. He's gonna come from the ceiling. Okay, guy over there. Guy jumps up in the stands. So it was fun stuff, man. In the early 90s, this is the shoot 'em ups you had.
So, well, because you're just standing there in front of a TV screen at the video arcade with this.
Correct. Yep.
And this is like a whole $1, like 4 quarters to play this?
I think this was like 50 cents, which was the high price game in 94, 92. Nothing was over 50 cents in the early 90s.
That's not true. Time Traveler was like $5 per game.
I remember
okay.
$1.
That's probably why I didn't catch on. Nobody was fucking playing. Nobody could afford to play the game.
I remember,
it'd be like there was a line of people all paying $5 for their like 2-minute turn or whatever.
Oh my gosh!
And then you get your turn, and you're like, okay, here's my $5. My mom, like, I did all the dishes and stuff, and carried the groceries in, and did all this stuff for that $5. Okay, it's gone.
Yeah, that's it. Like you die like in about 30 seconds. Like, well, there goes $5.
Yeah.
Yep. That's cool, man. I love it. I think like the early 90s for me was like the pinnacle of arcade games.
Yeah.
Because there was so much cool stuff coming out, and we were getting a lot more, whether it was stuff like this or whatever, or we were getting Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, or we were getting those 4-player games. Like I loved that X-Men game. That 4-player X-Men game was fucking just amazing, or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or
was the best.
The fuck it was. There was a lot of cool stuff at that time that really, in my opinion, is just not the same. Like, it's just not stuff you can really replicate on a Xbox or a PlayStation or something. You know what I mean? It's just not quite the same. I would say the closest I've seen is on the Wii. The Wii did really cool stuff, and had some really cool games. There was this Resident Evil game I played. Me and my wife played it because she loves Resident Evil. She loves zombie shit. We bought a Wii specifically for that game, and we played some other stuff too. But we played this zombie game. I can't remember what it is, and it's basically like you're on it's like a track game, right? So your character's just kind of moving forward. You don't have any control over it. But you got to fucking shoot the zombies as they're coming out. And, it's like this old school stuff, right? You got the Wii remote, and we got the little pistol thing that you put the Wii remote in. So it's like a real gun. And we're sitting there fucking shooting the shit, And so that came close. I'd say that comes pretty fucking close to what we got. But it really is.
With that, as long as you only had 6 rounds in the Wii magazine. Otherwise, it'd be too much.
Exactly.
High capacity.
Do you remember Toe Jam and Earl?
Oh yeah,
I do remember Toe Jam and Earl. Yeah.
Do you remember that you could like go into the water in the first stage, in the far right and left, and there was a secret island? And I remember that the neighbor kid down the street would tell you, and you would think that you unlocked the code of like missing DNA for the human race because you knew about Toe Jam and Earl and the secret level or something. Oh, that stuff was so cool.
I still remember
that game was like training stoners to be stoners before we knew about weed.
I still remember the Konami code: up, down, left, right, BA, select, start. Depending on what console you were playing on,
yeah,
it was BA select start or it was BA start.
I didn't even know about weed until Matt showed us that commercial a little while ago. Now I think I'm addicted.
Like I quit smoking 5 days ago, and Matt's like showing me fucking weed commercials now. Thanks, Matt.
I mean, what can I
Gotta
say?
keep the temptation alive.
Yeah, tempt. But yeah. Somebody in the chat was actually asking, because I put it in the title of tonight's chat, if we've discussed Warhammer yet.
Ooh.
And we haven't, because I don't know, we just kind of got on a roll talking about all kinds of other stuff. But I did want to talk about Warhammer tonight, because I've been like reading up a bunch of stuff on Warhammer, and just like it's and mostly because of the toys that I started collecting, because they were just really cool toys. And like I've started getting interested in the war. I've never played the Warhammer game, so it's not anything I've ever, I never did that. Never got into the miniatures or anything like that.
Are we talking about a game or a movie, or what are we talking about?
Warhammer. Yeah, go for it. You're the expert on Warhammer.
Yeah, so it started out as a small tabletop game. It was popular in the 80s and 90s. It's branched off into its own empire. It's got video games, it's got some short movies, it's got books, and it's got the mainstay is the models. And it goes from anything from people that play the game to just paint, that just read the books, that just like the video games, and each and every one. And it started off as a fantasy game, which had like knights and orcs and goblins and elves, and that matured into a futuristic game, which had knights, orcs, and elves just 40 years into the future. I got into it in the like early 2000s when the company who did Games Workshop also owned the rights to Lord of the Rings and did a whole Lord of the Rings line. That's what got me into it, was painting like the Lord of the Rings stuff, and then it got me later into the Warhammer stuff, which was just a plethora of really cool, highly detailed miniatures that you could paint and then play on a space. And the tabletop is like a 6x8 map or a 4x8 map, and it's used with measurements and dice and rule books. So it's like a D&D but with armies. So it's similar to Risk. So like I roll dice, you roll dice kind of type deal. But orcs are really good with numbers. So I'll get 50 orcs and you'll only get 25 elves. But, my 50 orcs are not as strong as your 25 elves. So it's kind of a balance game like that. And it's a never ending amount of fun when it comes to strategy and playing and different areas like that. So that's just kind of like the brief overview of it. And it's awesome. It's a very fun thing. It's very deep. It's far and wide.
Now, I had a question because
more of a board game than D&D and more of a D&D than Risk.
In the middle, it's a battlefield, a small skirmish in a sense. So you may have 100 models on the table. You can have more, but maybe I've got 50, you got 50, and it's just one small battle. So yes, it is like that, like you said.
So I got a question because I've heard for a very long time that specifically Warhammer 40K. And I know Warhammer and Warhammer 40K are different, but that specifically Warhammer 40K was created because the people who created the original game, Warhammer, tried to get the rights and licenses or whatever to do a board game, to do a RPG, tabletop game for Dune, and they couldn't get the licensing rights to do the game, so they decided to basically essentially do their own version of that, which is why they created Warhammer 40K, which takes place 40,000 years in the future, which coincidentally is exactly the timeline for the Dune universe and all this other stuff. Now it has since become
Doom or Dune, the spice or the
Dune with the spice, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Dune. Yeah. And now it's obviously since it's becomes its own thing, but that originally that's what happened is that company tried to get the rights to do that, and we're like, well, fuck it, if we can't,
we'll build our own.
We'll make our own game.
Oh,
and there was a lot of similarities at the beginning between as far as the universe and the world
and the empire, and the factions, and even some of the early models. You can kind of tell that it's mirrored after. The 40K surpassed Warhammer. So Warhammer was the first game that was like with knights and orcs and goblins and elves with in that kind of swords and spears and magic spells. That morphed into the 40K, and 40K is the flagship now. Majority play 40K. Lord of the Rings is still popular-ish, but 40K is where it's at. That's what I played for a number of years. I did a lot of tournaments. I mean, there's no tournaments for Warhammer locally, but there's tournaments for 40K.
Yeah,
and that was where the fun one is, and that had the better models in a sense. And Games Workshop dumped most of their money into 40K because that's where the books are, that's where the money is, that's where the games are. So,
did you ever play Hero Clicks?
I did not play Hero Clicks. Hero Clicks was not my thing.
More recent, me and my buddy used to play that. He spent all the money on this stuff. Like, you'd have like this giant mat that you'd lay out on the floor, and you'd put like cars and buildings and stuff on the mat, or like make your own map, or however you do it. And then like you have your different characters, right? And like there'd be like Thor, but then there'd be like awesome, like strong Thor, and there'd be like zombie Thor or something, right? And like depending on which Thor you had or which character, like you could use their abilities to like some of them would have range attacks versus others you'd have to be right next to them, and you could do like one action and then one attack per character, and like you could take one character and move him to another character, and then his action is to throw the guy so that he could move a bunch without like, oh my god, Hero Clicks is fun.
That's basically Warhammer just on a hero scale.
Yeah, and then, like, the more damage that the character takes, like if you do 3 clicks of damage, then you have to click the guy 3 over, and like some of them would have like 5 clicks to kill him, some of them have like 10, and as their power goes down, like Hulk would get stronger as he took damage versus like other dudes would get weaker as they take damage and stuff like that.
That's cool.
Yep. Now the Warhammer 40K stuff, why I got into it is purely because it just looks awesome. So these are just a couple of the examples of what I've got. Is they just
look, you did a review of recently.
Yeah, the thing I did it was this one. I haven't done I've done reviews on all of them. I just haven't uploaded them yet. But I've got several of these, and they just look fucking cool.
That black and gold one
in there, or an alien in there?
It's humans. They're humans. That like this dude is a fucking. These are what they call. Well, I mean, they're different. They're not all, but like a bunch of them they call like Space Marines or Ultramarines. So these are like futuristic fucking military dudes in suits of armor, and
kind of like Pacific Rim, but on a smaller scale.
Yeah, and they just look fucking badass. They look fucking cool, which is how I got into it because Todd McFarlane Toys started releasing these things, and I was like, well, those just look too fucking cool. So I started buying them, and I started getting more and more interested in just like the world of Warhammer. You know what I mean? Like getting into it and like wanting to know more about it and stuff. And like I said, I've never played the game. I've never played the tabletop game. I had friends that played it growing up. I had a real good friend of mine that was way into it. And like you would walk in his room and he just had like shelves of all the miniatures that he would just spend hours and hours painting into all these different groups.
Go to this Instagram I just sent you. You'll look at some things there. This is an old Instagram from someone. And it'll show some pictures of a once husband. So you screen share those pictures on there.
Let's see.
You'll see some light stuff.
Like those little pewter characters that you paint yourself and shit.
Yep, that's what these are. He'll show you. He'll bring it up. And
so now they probably can 3D print them.
They can, which is obviously changing the market big time. But this is this is the game. This is like a dreadnought. That's a hero character that can
make the picture way smaller, please.
I'm trying to. It wants me to. I'm just trying to look. It wants me to fucking sign in.
What's your password?
I don't remember. I don't get on Instagram that fucking often. Hold on. I think it's under Never Enough Ammo.
Instigate. I mean, Graham.
I'm not screen sharing your password.
Well, it's gonna blank out the password. So.
Oh, your password is **********.
Yeah, exactly. Your password is incorrect. I don't know what my fucking password is. Is that it? No, that's
just
not
log
it.
in with Facebook.
I love dolls. Dolls are for me.
I honestly, dude, I only get on Instagram on my fucking phone. I don't remember what my.
Just try logging in with Facebook.
Okay, we'll log in with Facebook. I'm already signed into Facebook on this browser.
There you go.
Sucker. Now Facebook knows what you're doing on Instagram.
Right.
And they're all selling it to China.
There you go. So yeah, you'll be able to. Yeah, so this is like a dreadnought, this is a hero character. So this could take on 5-10 guys easy. So
okay,
this is
I always thought they were robots because this.
Well, this is this is actually like a dead Marine is encased in this machine as a shrine to his good deeds that he did when he was alive. So his like dead soul is inside of it fighting on for the Empire. And those are the scrolls that are on like that tell his deeds on the side and give him special powers. And so it's like a whole like ancient fighting ritual thing, but it's a pretty neat thing. So this was a hero. It's a blood angel. This is one of the close-ups, to model him. So I did like a conversion on this to make his arm, shown a different way. So he's got like his sword going down. That's a flamer pistol. So you would actually have like a flamer template that would be like a flamethrower. So this guy would be super good against a bunch of aliens or a bunch of orcs that would just hoard him. And this is just like a.
Is this your Instagram, dude?
This is an Instagram I used to have. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
this is your stuff.
Yeah, it's me.
Your stuff. Oh, okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So I had this when I was big into painting years ago and just never took care
These
of it.
are metal or plastic?
Those are plastic, and it was really great because this would be like a shrine. So this is like a bunch of dead Space Marine helmets I had. Like this is in an orc camp, and there's all kinds of special things. So it was like a dead shrine of dead guys and a bunch of acid here, and it's like a collection of all helmets that they would have
from all the dead everywhere.
Yeah, a bunch of dead Space Marine helmets.
Look at all those fucking guns and shit in the back. Jesus Christ.
This was just fun, and I would make this stuff for like tournaments.
That many guns.
This was just fun for tournaments. That I would make terrain for all other tournaments. So this was like a good thing. This is a skeleton that's like chained to the wall and tortured. So stuff like this was real fun to do, and make. So yeah, this was just cool. This was the fun part to me. I had fun playing, but I had more fun building terrain and building armies. I think this is the orc army. Yeah, this is my Warhammer orc army. So this is just like a chariots. They had like wargs that they would ride, wolves, and all kinds of stuff. So I had a dwarf. This is my dwarf army. The orcs are in the back and the dwarves are chasing or fighting them. And this was fun. This was a good time, but very expensive. But these are some Space Marines, Blood Angels.
What kind of paints did you use on the plastic like that? You'd prime them, and then what kind of paint?
I would prime them, and then I would use the Warhammer paint itself. which was pretty expensive, but in my opinion, it was unmatched.
Water-based or oil-based?
Oil-based paints. And you're talking a pot of paint right there is like $5 now.
What's like testers compared to that? I haven't bought testers in forever.
Like Army painter, which is cheap, is like $2.50, $3 now.
So it's like twice the price. So
it's twice the price. But I mean, I would go to painting competitions, and I was single guy at the time, so this is what you dump your money into. So I mean, and I was not dating anyone. So there you go.
Really? I never would have figured that shit out.
Yeah,
it's amazing you ever did after this.
Yeah, my wife tells me that. Trust me, my wife reminds me, like, listen here, dude, you're lucky. I'm like, yeah, I know. But these are, these guys. These were like Blood Angels were fun because they kind of hung on the fringe of we're good, but we kind of dabble in being bad. So these are just some Dark Angel. Yeah, these is kind of some closer ups of scrolls and stuff they've had. These guys are like midway through process, so they've got based in black, and then I start to bring them from there with the reds and the browns. So it's that, and then these are some tanks that I was kind of working on. So transports, so these would carry the Space Marines into battle.
What happened to all this stuff? Do you still have all this stuff?
I sold it all after I got married, and my wife didn't have to work for like almost a year. So,
well, there you go.
Yeah, yeah. So this was,
Holy shit, Duke.
Yeah,
those tanks are cool.
Yeah, I mean, and when you talk about painting, and you got people who just play, and they'll pay very well for painted stuff. So I was happy. It was a proud moment. I was done with it. I was done with that era of my life, and I was happy to sell it all off. And my wife didn't have to work and stayed home with our son. So, I mean,
what is this Walking Dead thing in the back? That's a mug. That's a mug.
Okay. Yeah, it's a mug. So
okay.
My mug of probably paint or something in the background. So, that's a train. This is that start of that train piece. You could detail it up and break it up, and this is just a process of
yeah.
So if you buy that thing raw like that, what's it cost? And then
once $40-$50.
And then once you paint it, what's somebody paying you for it?
At that time, I bought that for $35. I'd sell it for $55-$60 all day painted. And I was a decent painter. I'm not nearly as good as these guys that do commissions. It's just
the thing is, you don't even have to be. You only have to know how to work a paintbrush, and once you start, by the time you've done 100, you know how to paint pretty good, right?
Exactly. And I learned how to cut paints and put some water in it so that you could layer base and then you do shades. Once I figured out shading and I figured out how to make it, then the oils came out, and I could and dry brushing and the oils, that just changed the game completely.
Is there money in it if you bought a bunch of raw ones and painted them? Would there still be money in that?
I think there's some, but you would have to build a catalog. You have to build a catalog and then have people buy them and then sell it. Send them to you. And I'm not interested in that. I guess if you wanted to, I thought about it. Just start to paint. I thought about just buying stuff, painting it, and putting it up, and seeing how it did in eBay. And I actually
get the fun of the therapy of painting, and then you get some money.
My wife, my last birthday, my wife bought me like a couple $100 worth of stuff, and I just haven't got the time to get back into it, and I haven't made the time. I got plenty of time. I just haven't made the time, but I haven't made the time to get back into it to try it out again. And I got other stuff I'm doing, so it's kind of this was like when guns took a backburn to this. Like, I didn't buy tons of guns when I was doing this because this is where, hundreds of dollars a month went to.
Yeah.
So
if you don't take the time, how can you ever have the time, dude?
Right. Exactly.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I am very much looking forward to seeing when you get that one I sent painted.
Yes, I will get that. And these are the Necrons that you were talking about, Matt. These are These are like
there is a Necron figure in this line that I want. It's because I've got almost the whole line. I'm only missing 3 figures out of the entire line.
Well, that's cool.
One is what are they? Tyranids?
Tyranids.
Tyranid. There's one orc I don't have, or whatever the orcs are called in 40K. I can't remember.
They're called orcs.
I think you're still called. Okay, so there's one orc I don't have. There's that Tyranid I don't have, and then there's a Necron I don't have. They've only released 2 Necrons. One is what's it called? A flayed one. So he's got like pieces of skin stretched over his metal body, and he's got big ass fucking claws and shit. But I don't have one of these, and it was one of the first 2 that they released, and he costs fucking unreal amounts of money.
Yeah.
And so I haven't picked him up yet, but those are the only 3 out of all the McFarlane Warhammer line that I don't have. The other 2 are actually pretty cheap to pick up, the Tyrannid and that other orc. Aren't very expensive. But that motherfucker right there with he comes with a big ass gun that's glowing and everything, just like that. So they're kind of rusted looking.
Yeah, they're a fan favorite. The Necrons are really good. They're easy to paint. As you can see, they just look like you base up black, and you can literally dry brush silver on them, and they look awesome. That green stuff that comes, those guns come like that. The green part. So you just really had to glue them together, base them black, and dry brush them, and they look awesome. So, and they're actually a good fighting force. So a lot of people like choose those guys as their mainstay army. Yeah, look at how cool that is.
That's the one I've got. And he's like, what's he called? Necron Flayed One.
Flayed Ones, yeah.
So I've got him. I haven't taken out yet. I've got what's this dude? I've got a Blood Angel.
Yeah, see that looks awesome.
Yeah, that I haven't taken out yet. And then this guy is Ultramarines Primaris Assault Intercessor.
Yeah. I mean, that's awesome.
I haven't taken these out yet. But I've got those 3 that I haven't taken out yet. And like I said, I'm missing 3 from the whole line, which I want to get eventually. But that Necron is just like, this one's cool, man. I mean, I love this one, but there's one that's just the standard one.
With the gun is awesome.
Yeah, with the big fucking green glowing gun and shit. That I don't have yet, and he's just too expensive. And so unless I find somebody who just either doesn't care or doesn't know what they have, I'm probably not going to get it anytime soon. But
those are cool. The Necrons are a pretty badass group.
But I've been reading a whole bunch of stuff. I've been going over here to Warhammer Wiki or whatever.
Yeah.
And just reading up about all the history of fucking Warhammer and the ancient ones. And
the books would be so thick, even the game books. And that was what was fun about the game, is there would be 10 pages of lore for each section or more. Just telling you the history of the Tyranids, where they came from, how they work, how they fight. And that's what made your army interesting, is you would read all this whole history of the Blood Angels and their great deeds and how they worship. And they worship guns and swords and they were so against evil and corruption, and I don't know. It's a cool ethos of history that you would have such a I don't know. And
there's a lot of cool stuff, man. It makes me want to read some of the books, some of the stories and stuff.
Yeah, and they would add on to it. So as time went on, and they really started doing it recently, where wars would end and people would die, and so a hero that was available would no longer be available because he got killed off.
Yeah.
Or a race would you would lose some things, or it just was neat how it would advance on.
Did that make the figures worth more money if they killed off a character or something?
Yeah, some of the figures are worth a lot of money. The pewter ones that they stopped making in the early 10s.
See, that's what my friend had. He had all his were pewter ones, and because he was collecting in the early 90s.
Yeah, the pewter ones are worth a ton of money, because you can, think about it. Your buddy from the 90s, you can take paint off a pewter and sell it. Yeah. So you can repaint them. And so unlike plastics, which it's pretty much impossible to do it with plastics.
Pewter and solvent or something. And
exactly. I did that a lot, and I would buy used ones off of eBay at the time. Because Gerald's selling his Space Marines that he painted when he was 7, and they're all globbed up, so no one would want them. I would buy them, put them in that stuff, and I would clean them, and then I would repaint them with decent amount, and then resell them or replay with them. Yeah. These are, I forgot what these guys were called, but they were super cool. Sanguinius Angels or something like that, and they were all gold with the death masks on. So this was.
Gray Death in the chat says, man, I just realized how old I am. I started buying Warhammer 40K miniatures when they first started producing Space Marines back in the 80s.
Yeah,
you're old.
Big time. Big time, dude.
Oh, yeah, shit. There's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
I wish they made those. The ones that I collect, the bigger ones, they don't have any of the ones with wings and shit.
Oh, yeah. These guys were, definitely super cool.
Although they're still making more. Right now, they're putting out a whole wave. Well, because I showed them to you, they're putting out a whole wave of the Dark Tide game.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like, Games Workshop makes money. They're extremely profitable. They know what sells. I mean, it's I love them and I hate them at the same time because every year there's a price increase on everything. Yeah. Every year. Since
Which again, I think makes these cool because these fuckers are $20.
That's why I can't believe it. Because you're talking about that's $20. Mm-hmm. 5 Space Marines are like $50 now.
For the
5, yeah, 5 little Space Marines are $50. But it is what you pay what you get. So they're the top dogs. They know they're the top dogs. Nobody in the miniature game even comes close to selling the amount of stuff they sell. Yeah. So it's what it is.
There was a tabletop game, I guess, that I got into back in the 90s because a friend of mine was into it.
Yeah.
And it was
Flames of War?
No, it was this one where there was werewolves and vampires, and fuck, I can't. Why am I blanking on that? This was so long ago, man.
I get it.
I can't remember. It was like there were all these different clans of like werewolves and stuff.
Yeah,
and goddamn, I can't remember the name of them because they were a big RPG producer, and they've done several different things.
Wizards of the Coast?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Blizzard. Oh, was it? Fuck, I'm gonna look it up. Fuck, because I don't remember. Tabletop RPG werewolf. The fuck was it called? Werewolves of the Apocalypse, World of Darkness. That's what it was called.
That's cool.
And I can't remember who made these, but I'll accept your cookies, fine. But they've made video games and shit since. I've never played any of the video game. Well, this isn't the tabletop. This is the video game. Where's the tabletop stuff? I don't know where that is. But it was fucking great, man. It was really cool. All the different clans of the werewolves, and they all, because every clan's got to have its own thing.
Oh yeah, of course. That's the fun part. There's different skill set. There's different abilities, and that's the fun part. Is you choose one, I choose another. There's backstory. Yeah,
and it's all these different fucking versions of werewolves and all the different clans and shit and new breeds that would come out and stuff. And I can't even remember. I had a character because on that one you played as one specific character.
You see, that's what there's a lot of push towards that because even now Warhammer is morphing into smaller games. So there's called Kill Team, and it's not where you get an army of 100 and I get an army of 100 and tanks and flyers. Now it's you get 5 guys and I get about 5 guys. And maybe you play orcs and you get 6 or 7. And I'm Space Marines and I get 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But that's where a lot of it's heading is that kind of even smaller skirmish. And that's kind of fun too, because then you get a taste of all the armies. But it's like, hey, your guys are trying to get to this beacon and my guys are trying to hunt your guys down. Smaller scale or, things like that, which is kind of cool. And a lot faster. So instead of playing a 3 or 4 hour game, it's maybe a 30-minute, 40-minute game. Yeah. Which is easier for people to get into and, into the industry.
This is what it is. Makes it fun. White Wolf Publishing.
Oh, I've heard of them. Yeah.
That's the company that did that. And they also got real big for doing Vampire the Masquerade. That was their first game.
A lot of the old school Warhammer guys would talk about that. I was, a little bit. We were a little bit.
They did Vampire the Masquerade, which got like a really short-lived TV show back in the late '90s, if I remember correctly. But their second game was this Werewolf the Apocalypse, which I thought was cool. But I remember that. That was a game I got into very briefly in the '90s because a friend of mine was into it, and he worked at a gaming store at the mall in Mesquite, Texas. He worked at Town East Mall, and he was he ran the gaming store, so that's what they sold. They sold some comics and other stuff too, but it was mostly all just tabletop RPG stuff, and fucking manuals and books and all that. And because I was a mall rat, I would hang out at the mall all the fucking time. And it just eventually is like, oh, do you want to fucking... And I never even got to the point to where I played. It was just reading, manuals and the history of the stuff, and like take the time to create a character and do that type of stuff. And then I like never even fucking played the game, but it was still fun.
But that's building an army list. I mean, that's what it pretty much is.
So,
and yeah, well, that's cool.
It was fun back in the day, but I can't wait for Dark Tide.
Dark Tide's gonna be fun.
Warhammer game that's like Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, I can't wait. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm hoping that it's fun. I have some faith. I have faith. They do pretty good games. I mean, the Space Marine game that came out in 2011 or 12.
Yeah.
Was an amazing game, and that's still playable. I know the new one's coming out soon, but it's fun stuff. I mean, who doesn't love running around with a chainsword killing orcs?
Fuck yeah!
To me, it was on the. Did you ever play the Lord of the Rings game on PlayStation 2?
I never did.
Okay, we got to figure that out because the gameplay on that was so much fun, and that's exactly what Space Marines was. It was just running around with a pistol and a chainsword. You're just hacking away, just like in Lord of the Rings, where you're like defending the Helm's Deep tower, and you're just
shit out of that game, Duke. That game.
Yeah. It was
awesome. It multiplayer?
Yes, it was multiplayer, and it was 2 people, and you would play, and you would be Aragorn and Legolas, and there would just be hordes and hordes of orcs, and you would go around the map defending. Oh, you got to look it up. Lord of the Rings 2, the Two Towers, PS2 gameplay. It's awesome.
Yeah,
it holds up.
That's a lot of fun, dude. I forgot about that game.
We should actually look at the gameplay on this. It's amazing.
I wonder if you can get this on like Steam or something.
Oh, I'm sure. I'll look it up right now. I mean, the gameplay on this is just it was, and the Two Towers included everything in Lord of the Rings Fellowship, and then everything in Two Towers, and then the Return of the King one came out. And it just blew it out of the water.
Yeah, it was like stressful playing. You had to like run from one tower to the next, and then like defeat the like snake thing that spits out whatever it's called.
Yeah,
all the fucking ads in the world on this shit.
Yeah, but like this, it was pretty awesome, and I think it holds up. I mean, the graphics are a little bit, but like this is fine.
Oh, I don't care about. I mean, I care more about the gameplay than I do the graphics.
Right, and this is survive, and like you would level up, so you got like maybe swords in the beginning, but as you go on, you get a better bow and an axe and sword.
So it's got some RPG aspects to it, not just a hack and slash.
It's mostly hack and slash, but
then you can level up your weapons and stuff, and you can do some basic RPG stuff.
So you would want to play all the way through as Legolas, so that you could like top him out, and then you want to play all the way through with Aragorn, and then you'd want to be Sam and do all the Sam levels. And I think you got Gandalf in the Return of the King version.
No one liked the Sam levels, dude. Come on.
I know they were
a less violent version where you could talk it out with the different adversaries instead of having to fight all the time.
No, we don't ever talk.
Honestly, though, I forgot all about this game. Thanks, dude.
If we can play it on 2-player, it changes the way what we're doing.
How many years ago was this?
This was right with the movies. So this came out right before the Two Towers came out. So actually, you're playing this, and you would play and fight in the Two Towers, and then you would kind of see what the movie was going to be about. And the same thing with Return of the King. It came out like the September before the movie did. So you had a bunch of time.
Looks like Star Wars.
I get that.
Let's see.
I hope it's on there.
I spelled it wrong. Lord of the Rings Online on Steam.
No, not that.
What that is.
That's some other game.
Lord of the Rings Journey to Middle-earth.
I would say Lord of the Rings 2 Towers, Steam, or something like that.
Well, this should pull up all of them. Gollum.
Yeah, but it's not. It's not. I don't think it's
card
on there.
game. It's probably not. I wonder what Lord of the Rings Online is like. I've never.
I'll tell you, nothing is compared to that original game.
Have you guys been watching the Lord of the Rings at all? I watched the first 2 episodes and I dropped off.
That's all I've watched, and I didn't like them, so I just fucking stopped watching.
There's a Lord of the Rings television show.
Yeah, and everyone hates it. It's funny.
What's like who's making it? What company?
It's on Amazon.
Amazon. Usually pretty good, aren't they?
Usually, Yeah, not this
Except
time.
where they like cucked themselves or whatever.
It just I was bored watching. They dropped the first 2 episodes the first week, and I was just fucking bored.
Well, the problem is they don't have the rights to the Silmarillion. They only have the rights to, like, I don't know. It's like a 2-page like explanation of something, right? And so they had to just extrapolate all of these things, and it's not from Tolkien. It's Tolkien-esque, but it's not from Tolkien. So it doesn't follow any like written down story. It has like changes to characters that don't exist in the stories and the books, which, you know, like Tolkien spent years and years and years of his life thinking intricately about these stories and putting them together. And they're just kind of like, oh, well, that's cool. Let's just do it like this, you know, without really thinking about it. And it, like, people who know the stories hate it. Like, people who are into the Silmarillion and all that stuff and the original stories that were written absolutely hate it. Absolutely 100% are like, this is sacrilege. This is like, I don't know. Versus Lord of the Rings.
I don't think it's going to make a full season.
Oh, what's that?
I was just saying, I don't think it's going to make a full season.
They'll finish the season. I mean, it's already paid for, like, you know, contracted and all that stuff. Whether it gets a second season depends on.
And Amazon is one of those fucking places they don't give a fuck. They're like Fox. They'll just cancel some shit. Oh, it's not where we wanted it to be. We don't give a fuck. Some fans like it. Not enough. Fuck them.
Dude, they're spending a crap ton of money per episode, though. It's like $10
I've heard they spend more money on this than any show ever.
Yeah,
that's what I heard.
No, that's why I'm telling you, it's not going to get renewed because it's not. It's not getting the following it needs to hold out.
Well, because it not only needs to bring in fans of Lord of the Rings, it needs to bring in your average viewer who clicks on Prime to watch a show.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's really doing very well at either.
No, and I'm telling you, it's just going to die, which is sad because what we could have had is something cool. But I think what Honda's point of they just didn't secure the correct rights.
Yeah.
Well, and another thing is, they should have just told a story. Like I don't know. Do they have to go this grand? I don't think so. I think they could have just maybe done a story in Middle Earth.
I mean, granted, I haven't been watching it, but I don't even know what the fucking story is. I certainly couldn't tell from the first 2 episodes.
It's all about Galadriel and how she didn't take the boat to the East Land or whatever the hell, or the
which
West
again, like, why do I give a shit? Like,
well, that's the thing.
You just watch with the giants and the dragons. Lord of the
I don't know. And then maybe Gandalf or whoever the fuck he is shows up, but I got no content.
No.
Like, again, the first 2 episodes were not good episodes to get you interested in a fucking television show.
They just
weren't. Like
that's
that.
My point. Unforgivable.
Those should be the 2 best episodes, short of maybe the finale. The first 2 episodes that you're going to drop need to hook people, and they just sucked. They were boring. So
the problem is they also made Galadriel into this Mary Sue character who goes out with a sword hunting orcs. That's never what she was in any story. She was always like this like princess queen who just had like magical powers and, you know, all that stuff. She wasn't a warrior. She didn't carry a sword. She, you know, none of that. So, you know, like, that's the main thing that I think is getting a lot of people is like, you're just taking characters and changing their dynamics and changing what they do and what they're about and being like, oh, if you don't like it, then you're like a MAGA Republican or something, or I don't know what the hell they're saying.
Well, I'm just going to say, are they trying to compete with that other show you guys watched that was on for so many seasons?
Yes, which was dumb. They should not have released them at the same time. It's the same reason why I question why now, like even Andor, like why are you trying to compete against Game of Thrones? I would stay away from everything else.
What's Andor?
By the way, have you watched Andor yet? The first 3 episodes?
I've watched like almost all of the first episode. So if you want to talk, I'm going to dip.
Star Wars?
No. I don't want to give away anything in the show. I just
is it fun? Is it worth it?
I like so the first 3 episodes definitely are one complete story. You're not going. You need to watch all 3 episodes to start the story. Now I have a feeling each episode will be different, but all 3 first episodes create one. It's like the first act of a movie.
Yeah, when I get why then after watching the first episode, I understand why they put all 3 out.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with.
They're 30, 40-minute episodes, and it is the first 3 episodes are a building of like this character, and you get lots of flashbacks to when he was a kid, and then the 3rd episode I fucking loved. Yeah, I thought it was, again, I mean, for better or worse, you have to watch 3 episodes. It would have been nice had you been able to just watch 1 and immediately be like, okay, I feel like I've gotten a complete episode of television, and you don't. And that's just the fact.
There it is. Okay.
But I sat down and watched all 3, and by the end of the 3rd episode, I was like, I'm fully on board with this. I'm ready to see where this story goes.
So this is not the Ewok thing. It's not some Ewok.
No, that's Endor. This is Andor is the name of a character. You've seen Rogue One, right? You've seen Rogue One, right?
Me? Oh yeah, it's my favorite one.
Yeah, I love that. So remember Cassian Andor? He's the guy that.
Okay. I remember the name from somewhere. So this is
This is about him and the beginning of the rebellion, and how he's getting involved with the rebellion at its infancy.
Is there going to be more than 3? It says that's 1.3.
There's going to be 12 episodes total, and they dropped all the first 3 all at once.
Okay, right on.
So, and then it's going to be 1 episode a week from here on out. But they dropped the first 3 all at once.
Okay,
and I understand why they did it, because the first 3, again, are like the first act of a movie. And if you only watch part of the first act of a movie, you're like, okay, well, where's this going? But the first act gives a complete story, gives a complete story of how he gets involved with the rebellion. That's what the first 3 episodes are, is his journey getting involved with the rebellion.
They hook you, just like you're saying, like the other show did.
The what?
They actually hook you, not like that other show.
Like I said. Now I will say, if somebody has only watched the first episode, I can understand why they might go, "Huh, okay." I get it. I completely do. I will, however, say that because unlike the other show, which I think the first episode was 1 hour and 10 minutes long, the first episode of this is like 37 minutes long.
Yeah.
And it was much easier to watch all 3 episodes and feel like you've watched, like, all 3 episodes are probably about 1 hour and 45 minutes long total for all 3 episodes.
This is like Mandalorian or Boba Fett, right? That's all good.
Yeah. So, for me, it worked, but you do have to watch all 3. But again, by the end of the 3rd episode, I'm like, let's go. I want to see where this is going.
So where Mandalorian is, wait a minute, Mandalorian is after Jedi?
Is after Jedi. This is before the first Star Wars.
Yeah, cool. Really cool.
Well, it's like I said, it's just that I'm excited about it because I'm done with Jedi. I'm done with all that right now. I really just want to see the Rebel Alliance and the forming of that. I'm excited.
Yeah. And like I said, I got to the end of the 3rd episode and I was like, "Yep, let's go, let's do this." I was
characters. Is there anybody we know like C-3PO or something?
No. And in fact, the show creator came out and said, "This is not a fan service show. This is also not your traditional, shoot 'em up show. This is basically a spy thriller. This is about the beginning of the rebellion. There's going to be espionage and murder, and it's that type of show. This is not made for kids. This is,
like a book adaptation more than a action movie turned into.
He's like, there's going to be action in it. Don't worry, but this is not a traditional running through the Death Star, shooting everything, and then blowing everything up type of storyline. This is about the creation of the rebellion." And seen through the eyes of this one character who we already know from Rogue One has a prominent part to play in the rebellion.
He's the guy that dies on the beach with her?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and, we got to pay homage. You heard that James Earl Jones has retired as Darth Vader.
I did. Yes, I did.
He did film a bunch of stuff.
He's already filmed a bunch of stuff.
He filmed a bunch of stuff and voiced a bunch of stuff so Darth Vader could live on.
You flip over to my screen. You don't have to really talk about it, but watch. I just figured out what this freaking software Night Strike told me about. It can do. I don't have to tell you, but just watch what this stuff can do. keep talking. You don't have to stop talking.
Okay.
But I heard that he had retired and like they said signed over the voice rights or something, and I'm like,
yeah, because they can because that way they can go in and they can take all the things he said over 40 something years, 45 years, and they can make Darth Vader say other things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm I get that. You say 7 words and they could create 10,000 or something. Apple, orangutan and blue or something, and they can make you say
or they can just take many of the things Darth Vader's already said in all the movies and just tweak that and have him say certain lines or certain words or whatever. It also gives them the rights to, like you were saying, to just take his voice, and now with today's technology you can just take that voice and make it say whatever you want,
which is cool, and I'm glad that we'll have his voice bank. Because
I don't want to hear another Darth Vader. I don't want to hear somebody trying to do a James Earl Jones. I want that voice.
I would rather have his voice synthesized off of a computer program based off of his voice, than anything else. And that's kind of a cool thing to pay homage to him because he's the original voice. That guy is still butthurt about not being the original voice.
I know.
The guy who played him.
He was forget it.
You ever heard his original?
Can you imagine getting screwed out of that role though?
Yeah, but
he did not have a voice that really fit Darth Vader at all.
James Earl Jones has got a sexy fucking voice, man.
He was like this Scottish dude with kind of a high voice and whatever else.
Tell me what the general plans are.
Yeah, it was just like and David Prowse, that's his name. And he's a big dude. Like he was a bodybuilder. That's how he got the job.
But he got
but he does not have the voice for Darth Vader.
He got into it with Lucas on Return of the Jedi, and Lucas banned him from everything Star Wars for years, and only at the end let up so he could make some money, from what I heard. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I'd be happy with what you are. Aren't you happy enough that you played the guy in the mask?
One of, if not the most iconic villain ever.
Yeah, in cinema. So they don't have your voice. Okay. I don't know.
So look at this stuff. You see me playing with this, right? You just take these shapes over here and it's almost like crayons, but watch this. Watch this magic freaking button, right? I made this weird shape out of some colors. I push this Lego button and it just turns my thing into Legos.
Oh,
that's cool. Actually pretty fucking cool.
Okay,
Dude, you can design, if you assign different shaped blocks to different colors, and then you can build something, and then it'll just auto build it into
Legos and keep them in different colors. It looks like, and then I'm assuming you just click a button and it turns it into your 3D printer files. But this is to replace my 3D printer software. I just discovered that, and I'm like, wow, that's really cool. No one's ever told me that they can do that before.
That's really fucking cool. I really want to get a 3D printer. I know nothing about them. And I had a friend of mine, basically.
They're almost appliances. If you've got kids, I highly recommend it. It's like the same idea as having a computer. Just knowing what it can do is better than it being foreign. Right?
Well, I had a friend tell me about 3 years ago now, and he was he still is real big into 3D printers. And I was telling him I wanted to buy one, and I think at the time I was like, I think I can maybe scrape together $500 to try and get one. He said, look, if you're willing to spend $500 on one now, don't. He's like, because the way technology is moving, if you wait a couple years, you can get the equivalent of a $2,500 printer for that $500 in a couple years. He's like, the technology is moving so quickly on these 3D printers, and the mediums are changing, and what glitches and all this stuff.
It's all the chaos of the last couple of years and the bullshit chip shortages and bullshit like that. So everything kind of had a hiccup. So I don't know if printers were affected, but the printers are like $300 for a completely capable printer's $300.
Yeah, and that's what he was telling me 3 years ago, because he's like, you in a couple years you'll be able to get one that's way better than anything.
Here's the deal. I wouldn't wait. I mean, unless $300 is a big deal, I would definitely.
Well, at the moment it is, but I mean,
okay. Well, then I hear you. But if as soon as a kid came up to you and said what's a 3D printer? I kind of want one. Boom, I'd get one, because it's one of those. It's like getting a 22. You get them to 22, and they go, I don't really like guns. Okay, well, they got a 22. Big deal. But if they like guns, big deal. That was their first gun. They're going to get plenty more. So then they start to figure out what it is about 3D printing, because they're all kind of same as everything. They're they're different because they do different things. So if they were going to build something really detailed, that kind of dips into the liquid, and if you want one that's just more durable, you use this, and if you want one that's more cheap, you use that. There's different characteristics of them.
All right, guys, I gotta head out. I'll see you guys later. You guys have a good night. Sorry to head out.
All right, Duke.
Good night, Sir Duke. Thank you for the Warhammer education.
Yeah, you guys take care. See you. Bye.
You
All
too,
right, later. Well, we have already gone over 2 hours, so I think it is about time to wrap this one up too. So we're going to go ahead and get on out of here for today. Bahanda, you're doing your chat here in about an hour or so?
Nope.
No. Never mind.
Yeah, you went too long, and I got shit to do in the morning. So,
well, son of a bitch. Well, either way,
don't you usually start this shit way earlier in the day?
I usually started an hour earlier, but I wanted to talk about Warhammer, and Duke said he wasn't going to be home till 7 my time. I usually start at 6, so I started an hour later today because I wanted to talk about Warhammer, and so I waited for him to get off work and come home and all that kind of stuff. So, we started an hour later than we usually do. Otherwise, we'd have been done an hour ago. But yeah, well, I may do a trigger time tomorrow afternoon. So if anybody wants to hang out for that, we'll do that. Otherwise, we'll be back here on Monday for the Guns and Geeks podcast. And I assume you're doing your show tomorrow night, though, correct?
Yeah, tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. So we'll see everybody over on Honda's chat tomorrow night. So to everybody watching on Never Enough Ammo, thank you for watching. For everybody watching over on Geek Fusion, since I'm simulcasting to both channels at the same time, thank you. And that's it. We're going to get out of here. We'll see you guys later. Have fun. Deuces, all that good stuff. We'll see you guys tomorrow.